Imagine you have never seen your own face. You know the faces of everyone around you, every friend, every stranger, but your own remains a mystery. Then, one day, you kneel beside still water, and something impossible happens. The water stares back. 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth moving exactly when yours moves. For the first time in human history, someone is looking at themselves. This single moment changed something deep inside the human mind. Before this, identity was something others described to you. Now, it was something you could see for yourself. Early humans returned to these still pools again and again, not for water, for the reflection. They tilted their heads, watched the copy tilt back. They smiled, and the water smiled with them. It felt like magic, but it was the birth of self-awareness. Soon, water wasn't reliable enough. Wind rippled it. Clouds blocked the sun. So humans searched for something more permanent. Warriors had already noticed something strange about their polished shields. A bronze shield, scrubbed clean for battle, reflected just enough to be useful. Some checked their own face in it, just for a moment before the fighting began. But a shield was built for war, not for looking at yourself. They found polished stone, black volcanic glass ground smooth by hand for hours, created the first handheld mirror. Obsidian mirrors were treasured, wrapped carefully, passed down through generations. To own one meant something. You could see yourself whenever you wanted. Then came metal. Bronze, copper, and eventually silver were polished into gleaming discs. These mirrors were expensive, painstakingly made. Only the wealthy could afford them. A mirror wasn't just a tool. It was a status symbol. If you owned one, everyone knew you could afford to care about your appearance. Kings and queens commissioned mirrors framed in gold. Palace walls were covered in polished metal, multiplying every reflection into an entire room of watching eyes. To stand in a hall of mirrors was to be surrounded by endless versions of yourself. But metal mirrors had a flaw. They dulled, they scratched. Over time, your reflection grew foggy, distorted, less and less like you. People noticed. It felt unsettling, like losing a piece of your own identity. Then, someone discovered glass. Thin sheets of glass, backed with a layer of metal, created something far clearer than polished stone ever could. The first glass mirrors were small, fragile, and outrageously expensive. A single mirror could cost more than a house. Only royalty could look at themselves in true, sharp detail. A shattered mirror felt different from any other broken object. People began to believe breaking one brought 7 years of bad luck. Because for the first time, a person's true self felt fragile, breakable. A superstition, but one that still lingers today. Entire wars were fought over mirror-making secrets. One European city guarded its glass mirror technique so fiercely that workers who tried to leave were hunted down. A perfect reflection was worth killing for. Slowly, glass mirror technology spread. Prices dropped. Mirrors moved from palace walls into merchant homes, then into ordinary houses. For the first time, common people could see themselves clearly every single day. This changed something in how people dressed, how they groomed, how they carried themselves in public. Suddenly, everyone had access to self-inspection. Small handheld mirrors became personal items. Carried in pockets, tucked into bags, a quick glance before meeting someone became a daily ritual. Vanity, once reserved for royalty, became something anyone could practice. Bathrooms began featuring mirrors above sinks, turning private grooming into a mirror-lit routine. Soon, a plain mirror wasn't enough. Small bulbs were added around the frame so every detail could be seen clearly. The vanity mirror was born, part furniture, part personal stage. Brushes, small containers, and tiny tools lined up neatly in front of the glass. Barbershops covered entire walls in mirrors, so customers could watch every single cut happen in real time. Dressing rooms filled with mirrors from every angle, letting people study themselves from front, back, and side all at once. This obsession with seeing every angle never really stopped. Dance studios lined their walls with mirrors, so movement could be corrected instantly without needing another person to watch. Gyms did the same, turning workouts into a constant conversation between a person and their own reflection. Not every mirror was meant to show the truth. Carnivals built mirrors that stretched, squashed, and twisted every reflection. People laughed at versions of themselves that couldn't possibly be real. A reminder that a reflection could lie and still be fun. But not every mirror was meant for grooming or for fun. Some practices use the mirror to look inward, not just outward, sitting quietly, facing your own reflection without adjusting anything at all. A strange kind of stillness, staring at yourself and just breathing. The same still water, a completely different reason to look. Then came something new. Fixed mirrors couldn't move, couldn't be carried into every corner of daily life. So mirrors shrank. Compact mirrors, small enough to fit inside a handbag. Let people check themselves anywhere, anytime, in seconds. A quick flip open, a glance, a flip closed. Car manufacturers added mirrors to the sun visor, so drivers could check their reflection before stepping out of a vehicle. Rearview mirrors let drivers see behind themselves without turning around. An entirely new kind of awareness, blending safety with reflection. Not every mirror was built to show your own reflection. Some mirrors were built to hide someone completely on the other side. A dimly lit room could see through, while a brightly lit room only saw itself. Interrogation rooms and observation labs used this trick for decades. The mirror wasn't lying. It was just showing you exactly what it was told to. Public elevators were lined with mirrors, partly for space, partly because people simply could not resist checking their reflection. Then came photography, and everything shifted again. For the first time, a reflection could be captured, frozen, kept forever. No longer did you need a mirror in front of you to remember what you looked like. A photograph became a permanent mirror, one that didn't disappear when you walked away. Studios filled with cameras and mirrors together, letting people pose, adjust, and capture the exact reflection they wanted saved. Photography turned self-image into something shareable, something other people could see too, not just something private between you and the glass. Decades later, cameras became smaller, cheaper, and eventually they fit inside a phone. Then came the final leap, the front-facing camera. For the first time, the camera itself became a mirror. Live, instant, and always in your pocket. You didn't need still water. You didn't need polished stone. You held your reflection in your hand wherever you went. People began taking photos of their own reflection constantly, checking angles, adjusting expressions, capturing the exact version of themselves they wanted the world to see. This simple act, staring at your own image and deciding how to present it, is exactly what your ancestors did beside that still pool, just with better lighting and a save button. Apps began adding filters, smoothing skin, brightening eyes, softening shadows, creating a version of your reflection that felt slightly better than the mirror ever could. Playful filters added animal ears, sparkles, and shifting colors. Fun at first, just a new way to play with your own reflection. But some filters didn't just add sparkles, they quietly reshaped faces, smaller noses, bigger eyes, smoother skin, all with a single tap. Some people began preferring the filtered version over their own real reflection. People spent minutes each day simply looking at themselves through a screen, adjusting, deciding, presenting. Video calls turned this into something stranger still, a small window showing your own face while you spoke to someone else, a live mirror running constantly in the corner of your vision. Most people found themselves glancing at their own reflection more than the person they were speaking to. Social media apps added front-facing cameras by default, assuming, correctly, that people would want to check their own reflection before anything else. Psychologists began studying this constant checking, this endless self-glancing. Too much time spent comparing your reflection to a filtered ideal came with a cost. Some researchers called it a new kind of mirror fatigue. Not the mirror itself was ever the problem. It was how long and how often you looked. Public bathrooms today are still built around one fixture that hasn't changed in purpose for thousands of years. A mirror above the sink, exactly where our ancestors once knelt beside still water. Elevators, car visors, phone screens, makeup mirrors, gym walls, video calls, they are all the same instinct, wearing different technology. Every time you check your reflection before leaving the house, you are repeating an act older than written language itself. Every selfie is a direct descendant of a person kneeling beside a still pool, tilting their head, watching themselves tilt back for the very first time. Look closer at why you glance at your reflection in a shop window without even meaning to. The glass is new. The urge is not. You didn't invent the need to see yourself. You inherited it, passed down from someone who once knelt beside water and realized, for the very first time, that the person staring back was you.